Thank you for joining us today for the virtual Sunday service with the Center for Creative Living. CCL, a charter of the Universal Church of the Master, has served and supported the spiritual needs of its community here in the Bay Area for over 20 years.
It has a different feeling here than Phoenix does.
Oh yeah, and there's so many spiritualist things and spiritual seekers and all of that going on. So it's nice when you're in that connection, like Bell Rock. We had mentioned this because it was so fun. We went up on Bell Rock, and I don't know if you can go up there now anymore. I don't know how close you can get to any of them now. And we were sitting on Bell Rock, and I said, okay, we're going to go up, and we're going to watch the sun come up. And we're all sitting there, and I had everybody facing west instead of east. And we all dawned on us, it was coming up behind us, you know.
It was getting lighter and
lighter. No sun. So great tour guide. And so then I said, now look at that lenticular cloud. And that's a cloud that has a flat bottom, and that really is very well known for hiding motherships. Mm-hmm. And so I said, just be aware. And I said, there is a lenticular cloud. And somebody said, oh, it's just a cloud. And I said, why isn't it moving if it's just a cloud? And they said, because there's no wind. And just then this green, big, hot air balloon was being pushed by the wind, and the cloud just sat there, and everybody went, woo. So it's a very, very interesting place to go. I've done 7 trips taking people to Sedona, and so it's and if you can get rid of the hubbub of all the people and just focus on the vortex energy. I'm going to share a quick little metaphysical thing. I went into Airport Mesa, and I was standing there, and all of a sudden I could feel this female energy next to me, and I turned, and there was a very beautiful Native American woman standing there. And I said, I thought that this vortex had a male guardian. And she says, oh, that's my husband, I had to give him something to do. So, when you're speaking to a spirit and it's using the vernacular of now, giving my husband something to do. And so she and I stood there and chatted. And what the people in our groups have found is when I get real quiet and just stand somewhere, that means Dottie's tuned in. And a beautiful woman told me all about what had happened, what used to happen when she was there in form. And now in spirit, she just had this great sense of humor. So for me, I have all these stories about Sedona because I just found it to be unique and interesting and a very, very beautiful place to be.
And the coyote.
Oh yeah, and we had so many different things. The coyotes are my animal.
Totem.
Yeah, they're the totem animal, and they talk to me wherever we are. So yeah, we'll have to do that. Today is going to be about our wonderful speaker and all of you. So do we have any birthdays? That's the way it's going. When is your birthday?
It was on Wednesday.
Yay! Come on up, Connie.
Birthday!
Yay! And come on up and grab any kind of beads you would like.
Well, purple it has to be.
Well, of course.
Oh, that's a rainbow. Wait, that's good too.
Take them all. No, that's perfect. Just grab them and put them around your neck. There you go.
Gotta have purple in the front.
Yeah, wonderful. Yes. And now, are you ready to be sung to?
I'm ready.
Okay. This is your birthday song. It isn't very long. Yay! Thank you, guys. How wonderful to be at Billy DeFrank LGBTQ and get rainbow beads. I mean, that's a wonderful thing to happen. Yeah. And but if you ever want to talk about any of the vortex energies of any place, I'm open to talk about it. I think they're wonderful. And the thing that I'd like to start out with this morning is a prayer for all of you who are going through a difficult time. And the difficult time might be mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, financial. Emotional time is when you have something in your life that you're having difficulty dealing with. So I'd like you to all just put your feet flat on the floor and close your eyes. Dear Mother, Father God, thank you so much for joining us today. Know that each one of us has a part of our life. It's a little bit more difficult than we would like. And we ask that you shine your light on us today so that the worry, the discouragement, the frustration that you're dealing with can be lightened so you can handle it gracefully and know that this is not forever. This is a problem that is going to go away. But right now, we pray that we be able to handle it easier and that all of our problems will lighten and lighten until we get ready to let them go. And so it is. And anybody have anything they want to talk about last week that was kind of unique? I know we know that Connie had a birthday, so that's pretty unique. Anybody else?
We went to a wedding.
We went to a wedding. My granddaughter got married by the Justice of the Peace, and that they only allowed a few people in to do that. And then she had a reception with 100 and some odd people. And a beautiful place in Fallbrook, and it was amazing, and it was fun to see people you haven't seen for years and enjoy it. And they did everything uniquely their way. Instead of having a huge dinner, they had a taco truck.
Yay, taco truck!
Instead of having cake, they had popsicles. Of all these different flavors like mango and that you could dip in chocolate and nuts or whipped cream or
about 20
whatever.
different things.
20 different toppings. They just had unique things. And I love the idea of doing it differently. They've been living together for 8 years, so they wanted just to have fun, and they certainly did, and it was great. So one of my granddaughters has gotten married, and so it's
Congratulations,
fun.
Vanessa.
Yeah, Vanessa and Philip, and so we had a very good time. We drove down there and drove all the way back, and it's our is it called? It's not an altimeter. What's the thing that measures how many miles you've traveled? Odometer. That's it. Okay. It was over 1,000 miles, and I've been in 2.5 days. That's a lot of. And Corgi did all the driving, and so it was great. And for those of you who want to send her healing, she had her surgery on Wednesday.
Yay!
And so, in her eyes,
my eyes all propped up now.
It's in Technicolor, and so put some energy on that. We'd love to have it. Also, I'd like us all to put energy out to April. April is in the hospital. They're still running tests to find out what the heck's going on with her body. And so we just we just keep putting out that energy. They keep examining this and examining that, and they're still not too sure. So if you think of April and think of her, see her healthy, okay? And that's going to help her improve. And so we like the idea of that. Anybody else you'd like to put in? Yes, Joan.
Can I talk for a minute?
Yeah, well, you think I'm going to stop you? Think I'm going to trip you?
How do you do that?
You know, it's interesting that Dottie focused on a difficult week because I had a very difficult week. How many of you did?
Well,
Yeah, it was just, I don't know, I rarely have difficult weeks, but by the time I went to line dancing and kind of messed up my right hip,
no.
I'm probably not going back to line dancing, no matter how much I love it. And then I went to the dentist, and that was difficult. So I just had a difficult week with different things that came up. And I thought, okay, what can I do? Because I'm into this looking ahead and extending my life and extending my vision. So we're coming up to October, and October is the month to plant daffodils and tulips. And whenever you plant things, you're looking ahead. You're making a commitment to stay here with it and nurture them and watch them bloom and come into their full flower. And as you know, daffodils are just so much fun when they pop up. And I don't know about you, but my daffodils pop up in places I've never planted stuff. It's just a miracle. But I want to encourage you to think about planting daffodils and tulips as a commitment to the joyfulness that is coming to you, because that joyfulness is coming to you, and it will come in the spring, but it can come each day. So that's my message for today.
Thank you for reminding me.
Look forward to joyfulness.
Thank you.
Awesome. That's an awesome. Yay.
Yay, thank you, Tom. So, Tim, are you and Blackie ready to do help with a meditation?
Sure.
Janet is not here, obviously, that she is, I don't know whether she had a day off or she's traveling, but whatever she's doing, we send her best wishes. Any idea of what you would like to meditate on?
Just what I mentioned before.
Okay. I forget what it was if I look blank.
How do I say it? Being you in the now.
Being me or just everybody? Being in the now.
Being
I
new
think-
in the now.
Do in the now.
New in the now.
It sounded like he said nude in the now. They have a whole different
Well,
concept.
if the shoe fits.
Yeah, you know, if the shoe can be taken off, go ahead, okay.
My hands are nude.
Like you ought to just take a nice deep breath and close your eyes. Follow the sound of my voice. Each one of you has a chance to start in the beginning today. Just like John was talking about, planting flowers. You can plant the flowers of you. Think about that, planting a seed that has your name on it. Whether it's a Connie or a Corky or a Joan or Ed or Christine or Tim or any of you. Just to visualize taking a seed and planting it in the ground with your name on it. How does it feel to start over? We can stop and start over anytime we want. When you get burdened down, when you feel you've lost your way, when you have a sense that tomorrow won't be any better, stop and do a restart. Get up in the morning and smile at the sun and laugh if it's raining. Feel the energy if it's warm, or put on a sweater if it's cool. Remember, you were in charge of your life. When you ask Source to come in and support you, it is the most wonderful feeling in the world to know that you can start again because you have that power behind you. So starting anew doesn't mean you need to be absolutely reborn. It means you need to refigure how you want your life to be. And as Tim plays and sings, know as you listen to his voice that you are in charge, you are in control, and you can plant your seed of love and life in the ground so that it gets growing into a harvest of love, life, new beginnings, joy, and happiness.
I let myself be whole. I let myself be free. I let abundance be the way for me. I let myself feel love. I let myself feel peace. I let my life unfold in harmony. And so it is, and so it is. I let abundance be the way for me. And so it is, and so it is. I let my life unfold in harmony. I let myself be whole. I let myself be free. I let abundance be the way for me. I let myself feel love. I let myself feel peace. I let my life unfold in harmony. And so it is, and so it is. I let abundance be the way for me. And so it is, and so it is. I let my life unfold in harmony. I let my life unfold in harmony.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much, Tim. That is amazing. Let's just take a nice deep breath. I am so excited about introducing today's speaker. When we go separation to oneness, I think we've prepared him, don't you, Connie?
Absolutely.
Then,
Between you and him,
you can do it. Connie Habash has been talking to us many times, and for years and years. How long did you have her bowl?
quite a long time.
We had a pre-pandemic, we had a potluck, and Connie brought this big beautiful bowl, and we gave it back to her today.
Yay, you got it back.
It was so great. Connie is a therapist, and what I like about her that she has written a book called Awakening from Anxiety. And this is a spiritual guide to living a more calm, confident, and courageous life. And she brought some books with her today, so she'll sign them and she'll sell them and all of that. And you get a chance to talk to her after her talk. And the thing that I like about it is that it's just not us. We're a collective. We change the life of everybody we touch. And you don't realize that. As you feel that you're invisible sometimes, or you feel like as you go through life, nobody cares. But every time you move towards a person, they feel your energy. If your energy is positive, it'll help theirs. If your energy is negative, it will pull theirs down. Because we're not just alone and separate. We are like the vortexes I was talking about in Sedona. You get changed after you go there. That vortex appears to not be doing anything, but it's doing a lot. And that's the same way you are. I was so excited when I read what she was going to be speaking about, this separation to oneness is what every one of us needs to listen to. And Connie, you don't realize this, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 brand new ministers in this room today.
Yay!
And as you know, being a spiritualist minister is pretty exciting stuff. So let's all welcome Reverend Connie Habash.
Yay!
And I'm just going to sit behind here, and I
Okay.
promise not to tickle.
Okay, that's important, because like everything could go haywire if you did that. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm so glad to be here, to be back. It's been too long. It's good to see old friends and meet new friends. I'm talking today about something that I'm very passionate about. Might be a little intense, so are you strapped in for the ride?
Woohoo, let's go.
All right, good, because I know you guys here, like, everything goes here, right? Like, you guys dive in deep. And we're talking about moving from separation to oneness, not just with humanity, but I'm talking more today about the whole planet, about nature, about all life on this planet, and that it's really an intersection of our spiritual evolution, individually and as a species, and our planetary well-being, that we need to return to this experience of oneness. We know that things are changing on the planet, right?
Yes.
We know the planet is in peril.
Yes.
I mean, this is not an exaggeration at this point. New studies have come out that we're actually past the tipping point on a number of measures, and that we really do need to take this seriously and into our hearts about healing our planet. And it may not appear that way to the naked eye yet, but we're seeing all the signs, right? We're seeing fires and drought and floods and plastic in our oceans and plastic in our bloodstream, right? Mm-hmm. We're seeing the signs of it everywhere. And this is really the result of our disconnection from the planet. Our disconnection from the planet, from each other, but especially from the natural world all around us. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about how we got here, what to do now, and how to return to this sense of oneness. And it is a return because our ancestors knew this oneness. But so we know from historical records and also from indigenous peoples that have carried down these traditions and teachings for so many years that a few thousand years ago, most of the peoples on the earth lived in a symbiotic relationship with nature. We followed the cycles of the seasons and the pathways of the stars. And we knew that our survival depended on being in harmony with this beautiful planet, with the earth, with the natural world. We didn't accumulate a lot. It wasn't of great value in those early societies to own a lot of stuff. In fact, a lot of them were nomadic societies, so a lot of stuff would actually have been a burden. And besides, the earth was abundant. It is abundant, right? She provided. And life was simple. These ancient peoples, our own ancestors, as I said, understood that the planet didn't belong to us, but rather we belonged to her. We were an intrinsic part of nature, and we didn't own land or resources. They were shared amongst us and the animals and the plants. And everything belonged to everything. We shared. We were the relatives of the flora and the fauna, of the plants, the trees, the reptiles, the mammals, the winged ones, the insects, the fish. They were all our brothers and sisters. But at some point, about 5,000 or 6,000 years ago, things began to change. And there's a number of reasons why, which I can't go into today. That's a history lesson that I'm not quite capable of giving you, but things shifted more toward accumulation of power and accumulation of material resources. We began to look at nature as a resource to take and use, as well as people as resources to use and dominate and take. We shifted from a community as our focus to an individual, to like getting what is ours and owning. And we became separated. We shifted from the oneness that we were all living in to more and more increased separation across the planet. And this has led to what we're noticing now as a society, a world society focused on anthropocentrism, that humans are the most important. We've become the most important in our mind on this planet. And it's part of our unconscious assumptions today. And now, an even further risk of disconnection from the natural world and from each other is AI. That we risk becoming even more disconnected from the planet and from each other by turning our sense of connection to artificial intelligence and away from humanity, away from our interconnectedness with living and breathing, feeling beings, and even from spirit. Philosopher and biologist E.O. Wilson has coined a term that he thinks we are emerging into, the era that we're going into. Some of you may have heard that we're entering the era of the Anthropocene, which is the era about human beings alone. But he says that we're on the brink of entering what he calls the Eremocene, the Eremocene. It's the age of loneliness. The age of loneliness after the rapid decline of biodiversity. That's what we're on the precipice of, because we have disconnected so much from all of life around us. And therefore it is suffering, and so are we. We are suffering from that loneliness. So a couple hundred years ago, the Industrial Revolution happened in the 1800s. And a woman named Joanna Macy. How many of you have heard of Joanna Macy? Probably a few of you. She's an amazing founder of a work called The Work That Reconnects. It helps us reconnect to the planet. And she's also a Buddhist scholar. And she calls the era that started about a couple hundred years ago the Industrial Growth Society. The Industrial Growth Society. And you may recognize some of the qualities of the Industrial Growth Society. It's focused on profits over people and planet. Hyper-individualism, accumulation of wealth, material goods, and power, especially power over others and taking from others.
You mean that's important? That all happened? That was predicted?
Yeah, that's been happening for the last couple of hundred years. This Industrial Growth Society has been kind of taken over, right? The accumulation of wealth and material goods and the continuous increase of sales and market share. More consumption. We have become consumers. We are not human beings, we're consumers. This is all part of the Industrial Growth Society mindset. And the increased use of resources without limitation. Expanded areas of growth without limitation, right? So the Industrial Growth Society has really been focused on taking without restoring and giving back, without being part of a reciprocal ecosystem. And if you understand that, well, yes, capitalism has evolved into that, right? I don't know if it was intended that way in the beginning, but it certainly has become that way now, hasn't it? Because ecosystems by necessity have to be reciprocal. An ecosystem out there in nature will not survive if there isn't reciprocity within the ecosystem. Something will take over and then destroy the ecosystem. We see that with invasive plants. If any of you know anything about invasive plants, right? So do you guys see any problem with this industrial growth society?
Extinction?
Extinction, right? It's not possible. It's not sustainable. We have a finite number of resources on this planet. People say, oh, we can just plant trees. You know how many years it takes for trees to get large enough to start to offset CO2? Like
The old growth forests are
10, 20, 30 years. The old growth forests are being decimated. They are our biggest, I was just reading a little bit about some of the recent studies that have come out, that the biggest thing that we can do, which I'm going to talk about this is things that we can do, is save old growth forests, save any forests right now, really, basically. Save them from decimation, because they are our lifeline. So we know this is not sustainable. I mean, if you think about like mining, for example, that is going to end at some point. Oil is going to end at some point. Those are not things we can plant and grow again, right? So how do we change this before we get all depressed, right? How do we change this? Well, first of all, we need to look at ourselves. We need to take a really honest look at ourselves. And I'm going to share a couple quotes from Andrea Gibson. Any of you familiar with Andrea Gibson? An amazing, yeah, you might know of her here at the Billy DeFrank Center here. Amazing, award-winning poet, amazing speaker, very active in the LGBTQ community. I love listening to her talks. So she says that first we need to look at ourselves. She says, they're they, them, says, looking directly at yourself and not turning away is very similar to looking at the whole and not turning away. So I know that talking about these things is hard to hold in our hearts, right? It's uncomfortable. It's scary. We have to look at what we need to change within ourselves. But also like that journey of going within and looking within ourselves at what needs to be healed, what needs to be answered within us, what needs to be addressed. That's a difficult journey. And if we can look within ourselves and with courage and honesty, then that will give us the strength to be able to look at the whole with that same courage and honesty. They say that recognizing our anxiety and depression is rooted in this painful separation. It's from this separation that has happened, this disconnection from our planet and from each other, is what's resulted in the uptick in depression and anxiety. We know depression and anxiety is skyrocketing right now. I know some of that has been since the pandemic, but it was happening long before that. Like it was happening especially right when we started to get devices, social media, right? Disconnection, right? People are connecting more to this than to one another and to the beautiful, there's an amazing tree right here in this parking lot. There's birds in it, living beings in it. This is our living planet around us, and this is what sustains us. And we become disconnected from it. And that's been a big source of our loneliness and depression and anxiety. Andrea Gibson shares that when they feel truly connected, it's hard to feel depressed or anxious. That comes from the disconnection. So it's healing this state of disconnection and separation that will help us heal our anxiety and help us heal our planet. And let's take a moment right now, because this talk may have brought up a little anxiety for us, right? Let's take a moment right now to do a practice that Andrea Gibson shared that is known to help calm anxiety. And it's also, interestingly, when I heard them share this, I'm like, oh, that sounds exactly like what in the deep nature connection communities that I've been a part of, we would call owl eyes. Owls have amazing peripheral vision. So let's take that right now and practice that a little bit. So I'd like for you to go ahead and just look straight forward. You can be looking at me or just straight forward in front of you to whatever you see there. So you might see me, you might see the back of somebody's head, you might see something across from you on the wall. If you're at home, you might see something hanging on your wall or something out the window. And we are, because we're prey animals, we're predator animals, our eyes are really usually focused and they're directed forward. But what will help us feel more connected to our environment and calm our anxiety is to start to connect to the periphery. So keeping your eyes forward, I'd like for you to soften your gaze. And then you can take your hands and move them slowly out to your sides, to right to the edge of where you can still perceive them. You're not moving your eyes, but you can see them. You can wiggle your fingers and see that they're there at the edge of your peripheral vision. Can you guys see that? Mm-hmm. We have close to 180 degrees of peripheral vision. And so now let your hands come down, and I'd like for you to notice what you see around you in that peripheral vision without darting your eyes around. Use your peripheral vision, look straight forward, and expand your awareness into that. So you probably can see people around you. You might see something hanging on the wall. You might see some light. You might notice an object across the room. And in this, you might feel more of a sense of being here with our collective, being more connected with others. You're not here alone, you're here with others. Now I invite you to close your eyes and imagine that you're out in a forest. And as you sit there in the forest, and maybe you're looking across, let's say at a redwood, because we're near redwoods here. Imagine that your peripheral vision expands, and now you can see the whole forest. You can see the many trees, the redwoods, the tan oaks, the madrones, the big leaf maple trees that are turning right now into a bright yellow. You might see ferns out of the corner of your eyes. Without having to look around, you can start to take it in. You might notice a creek down below you within that 180 degree range of your vision. You might, with your eyes expanding their awareness, your ears now go into their peripheral awareness. You might hear a crow off in the distance, or a songbird in a bush near you. Or you might hear above you in the canopy the sound of leaves rustling, blowing in the wind, the bubbling and trickling sound of the creek. And so by expanding our awareness into our peripheral vision and expanding into what we hear, and maybe you would begin to smell and feel, you start to become more connected with this planet and with one another. So take a couple more breaths here. Just noticing what you're feeling right now. And then if your eyes are closed, slowly let them open. And would anyone like to share what you noticed from that experience?
I feel everything looks softer.
So everything's looking softer. Anything else that you're noticing?
Your aura.
Seeing an aura. Maybe my aura. Maybe someone else's aura. Anything else? What are you noticing in your body?
More relaxed.
More relaxed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nap time.
But don't fall asleep, because we're not at the end of my talk yet. But you can see how it's a relaxing practice. Did anyone feel more connected to the group here, or maybe connected to the forest that you imagine yourself in sitting in?
I don't know, I had a woodpecker in my forest.
Oh, how wonderful.
It was wonderful, but it was kind of, how they're wonderful and annoying at the same time, like little kids. Yeah.
That's the acorn woodpecker, my favorite. Yes, they have that sound.
Too? You can do that.
I try. I'm not very good at bird sounds, but that's one that I can do. But I invite you to take this outside on your balcony, at your neighborhood park, when you're in a crowd, when you're at home, to open into expanded awareness. This is what's going to start to help us feel more connected to one another and more connected to our planet, and also helps calm the sense of anxiety. So, what else do we need to do to help shift from this sense of separation back into oneness? Well, we need to shift from the focus of me and I and mine, the individual, and return to the we with a new and expanded consciousness, integrating our uniqueness with our collective oneness. Now, I know here at Center for Creative Living, you're very much focused on the community and giving back to the community. And so now the invitation is to expand it beyond our human community into our planetary community of being all part of nature. So again, from Joanna Macy's teachings, she shares with us the Buddhist perspective about individuality, because we definitely stepped into our uniqueness, which is an important part of our evolution as human beings. And we all know that we are each unique beings, right? There's not one of us in the room that's alike. But the Buddhist teaching of anatta, A-N-A-T-T-A, is the teaching of unique but not separate. Unique but not separate. We can still be unique, but still be part of this oneness, to be connected to and part of the everything. Because a keystone of the Buddhist teachings is that there's no separate or permanent self. The Buddha says there's no separate or permanent self, which is probably kind of shocking for a lot of us to consider that idea. But in the Buddhist teachings, that idea of separate and permanent self is brought about by the thoughts that we cultivate and our belief in those thoughts. And Joanna Macy brings up systems theory in support of this. Has anyone heard of systems theory here? Okay. Systems theory is an interdisciplinary theory about the nature of complex systems in nature, in society, and in science. And from a systems theory view, Joanna Macy says, there is no logical or scientific basis for construing one part of the experienced world as me and the rest as other. That's kind of a revolutionary thought. There's no logical or scientific basis to see me and other. Everything is interdependent. Everything. The indigenous peoples have known us and have known this, and we in the Western world have been very slow to understand this concept and to realize it, that we are all part of a whole and we're inseparable from it. So if you think about it, how can you actually be separate from the air that you breathe? The air that you breathe that has circulated over the planet to become oxygen in your nostrils, that was exhaled by trees in the rainforest or in the Siberian forests or somewhere else on the planet. How can you be really separate from that breath and from those beings that gave you that breath, that oxygen that goes right into your lungs and goes into every blood cell and is taken to every cell of your being? How can you actually be separate from the water that you drink, that is in your bloodstream, that is in every tissue of your body, that was melted by glaciers or became a river from melted snow or rain that had come from clouds, that evaporated from oceans, that you drink and become part of your body? How can you be separate from that? How can you be separate from the land that we walk on, the earth, from her gravity that holds us to her? from the food that we eat, whether animal or plant. It's all come from the plants that grew in the soil, nourished by that soil, nourished by the fungi in that soil, nourished by the waters that fell on it, nourished by the light from the sun that the plants transformed by photosynthesis into energy. And you ate that with gratitude, and it became part of your being. We cannot possibly be separate from the rest of the planet. It's an illusion. It's an illusion that we have created to think that we somehow are. We've created these cement walls and these metal boxes we drive around in, and we on cement roads, and we think we're separate, but we cannot possibly be separate from nature and from the planet Earth. So we've cultivated this false sense of separation in an individual self in our Western society. And through this separation, we have developed a bit of a sense of xenophobia about nature. Now, you guys are probably familiar with the word xenophobia. Most of us think of it in terms of being afraid of foreigners from other countries. But xenophobia actually is the fear of whatever seems foreign or strange to us. Whatever's foreign or strange to us. And I want to read to you a passage from an amazing book called Braiding Sweetgrass. Has anyone heard of this book? Mm-hmm. Anyone read it? It's phenomenal. You can listen to it. I've listened into it in my car for months, by Robin Wall Kimmerer. It's Indigenous Women, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teachings of Plants and Animals. And the section I'm going to read here.
And you have 5 more minutes.
I have 5 more minutes? I sent you an email. Oh well. Maybe I won't read it about it.
Follow your intuition. Yeah, follow your intuition.
I want to read it because I think this really brings home an important point about things in nature, beings in nature that maybe we have become afraid of. Maybe we've alienated ourselves from. Maybe we have distance ourselves from so much that they seem foreign to us now, and we have a hard time connecting to them. So in this section, she and her daughters are out late at night, and it's the migration season for salamanders where she lives. And unfortunately, their migration path has been disrupted by a road that was paved. And so what happens late at night is that the salamanders get run over. So they're out there carrying the salamanders across the road, trying to carry them to safety. It has been said that people of the modern world suffer a great sadness, a species loneliness, estrangement from the rest of creation. We have built this isolation with our fear, with our arrogance, and with our homes brightly lit against the night. For a moment, as we walked this road, those barriers dissolved, and we began to relieve the loneliness and know each other once again. Salamanders are so very much the other, cold, slimy creatures verging on the repulsive to the warm-blooded Homo sapiens. Their startling otherness makes it all the more remarkable that we were here tonight in their defense. Amphibians offer few of the warm, fuzzy feelings that fuel our protection of charismatic mammals that look back at us with Bambi's grateful eyes. They bring us face to face with our innate xenophobia, sometimes directed at other species and sometimes directed at our own, whether in this hollow or in deserts halfway across the globe. Being with salamanders gives honor to otherness, offers an antidote to the poison of xenophobia. And each time we rescue slippery, spotted beings, we attest to their right to be, to live in the sovereign territory of their own lives, just like each of us wants to, right? Carrying salamanders to safety also helps us to remember the covenant of reciprocity, the mutual responsibility that we have for each other. As the perpetrators of the war zone on this road, are we not bound to heal the wounds that we inflict? So yes, it is our spiritual task to heal those wounds that we've inflicted on the planet, that we've inflicted on our own selves from our disconnection and separation from nature. So, well, what do we do about that? Well, first of all is that we reduce harm. What are some ways that you can think of that we can reduce the harm to the planet? I know you can think of some.
Not polluting.
Not polluting, right? So
No.
reducing our trash, picking up trash, composting more, reducing plastics. We know we have a big problem with plastics in the ocean. What else?
Oh, less consumption.
Less consumption, absolutely, yes.
I made a big garden so it attracts birds, squirrels, and butterflies.
So you've made a big garden that attracts birds and squirrels and butterflies, and that's a way of giving back. That's reciprocity. So that's not just reducing harm, that's actually you've given back to the land that you happen to have there.
And now I have lots of stray feral cats.
Stray feral cats coming in. Yes, and probably lots of other beings, like,
Yeah,
you know,
there's lots
at
of
night and that you don't even know come. So we need to reduce our harm, and then we need to give back. As I don't know your name. What is your name?
Valerie, is
Valerie.
my kitten?
Thank you. That ways to give back. Plant gardens, plant natives, plant tulips, but plant trees especially. Plant natives that help support our native ecosystem here. Other ways of reducing harm is contact your senators, your congressmen, your representatives, and have them protect species, have them protect old growth forests, which you talked about, have them protect native lands. There's a lot of things that we can be doing that can help repair the harm and then help give back in reciprocity, because part of returning oneness is coming back into that reciprocal relationship with the planet and developing what Norwegian philosopher Arne Næss says, the ecological self. Our ecological self is understanding and changing our experience of ourselves through an ever-widening process of identification. So we did that peripheral vision. Now we expand our identification of self into I am the trees. I am that land. I am that vacant lot across the street. I am that stream that is at the risk of being polluted once again by some sort of industry. I am the rain that falls. I am the forests that are burning or being cut down. And when we treat the land and the planet as our very own self, we develop that ecological self. Just like we would stop the bleeding if we were bleeding, we will want to take care of the rest of the planet as our own being, as our own self, inseparable from us. Because when we return to this oneness and this connection, we're not only going to survive as a species or save other species. Returning to oneness helps us rediscover the immense joy of interconnectedness, of feeling our part on the planet, of feeling that we are brothers and sisters with these animals and plants and with the rain and with the sunlight and with the air that we breathe. And we rediscover the feeling of belonging here. Belonging here. This is our planet. And so when you go out to a mountain and hike on a mountain, or when you go to swim in the ocean or let it lap at your feet, or when you walk through a field that's full of wildflowers, you're not just thinking, oh, I'm visiting a beautiful place. No, you're realizing this is home. I belong here. I am part of this, and it is part of me. And that is rediscovering our aliveness and our soul and our spirit, because the divine is in every living thing. Yes, the divine is within us. It's within every plant and tree and animal and flower. So let's come back from this place of separation into this oneness. Let us rediscover our connection and our feeling of belonging here at home and our joy of interconnectedness. It's like returning to the Garden of Eden. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Could you repeat the name of the book? We've had a request from the Zoomers.
The book that I quoted from,
Yeah.
it's called Braiding Sweet Grass. It's by Robin Wall Kimmerer. It's amazing.
Spell last name, Katie?
Kimmerer. She's of native descent, and she's also a botanist. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And yes,
I just wanted to ask for prayers. I had a developer knock on my door last night, and I have made this beautiful native plant sanctuary in my backyard. And they want to buy all the houses on our street and put up a big, high-rise unit. Buy all the, So currently the apartments behind us, these people have a ton of money. And they're, so if they find people who will sell, they'll just expand out on that, Anyway, so I just thought maybe we could just.
Well, why don't we, do you want to lead us in the closing prayer, Brianna?
Well, I was just asking for because I've been trying to take care of the possums and the raccoons and the birds and everything. So that's it.
Come on up and do prayer.
Come on, Brianna, come on up and you can do. Yeah, and while you don't want to? Okay.
I'll do it.
So we're going to pass the basket.
I'll do her prayer.
Okay.
Thank you, because I think that's really important. She's doing service.
We'll pass the basket and you just take a minute and breathe it, okay? Joan's going to pass the basket.
And
We're going to say our thing.
we're going to do the basket first and then I do the prayer.
Yeah, the prayer's going to be the closing thing.
Okay.
So,
I'll just stand here.
Okay, and so
What's our thing?
giving to the ministry,
Giving to the ministry,
from which I
from which
receive my spiritual support and
nurturing is an affirmation and consciousness of the truth that Spirit is the prospering power enriching every area of my life.
So it is.
I really need to make that into a song so I can actually remember it.
Yeah.
That's what I need to do.
I've only had it here for 18 years and still don't remember it. It's like.
I only know the ABCs because of the song still,
Yeah.
right?
blessing, multitude, consumption. There you go.
Thank you, Joan. I like people keeping it on track.
Someone's got to do it.
I know. I got so carried away with thinking of things I was going to do to support what Connie was saying. I forgot that procedure here.
I was the substitute teacher that would stop all the kids when I would see a ladybug. Everyone stop, wait, let's all look at this ladybug. And forget the lesson. It's ladybug time.
Right, getting people inspired about nature and connecting them to nature is part of the
math can wait.
Good talk.
Count these ladybug spots. There we go. It's still math.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna wait for Joan to sit down, and then I'm all right, now we're ready. Dear Mother, Father, Parent, God, we come before you in gratitude that we all get to be here together today and get to talk to one another and be able to hear this wonderful talk by Connie, and to feel empowered to be able to ask for spiritual help and strength. We ask that we might be calm of heart and clear of mind, that we might know what to say and when to say it and how to say it and when to say nothing, and to know what to do and when to do it and how to do it and when to do nothing, so that we might be able to preserve this beautiful, amazing, messy but glorious planet that we live on. And we ask for a special blessing on Brianne Stephanie's home and neighborhood that she lives in, that it might be preserved, that companies and others with a whole lot of money and thus power in this culture will be inspired to put that money and power to good use, because we all breathe the same air and we all drink the same water and we all walk on the same soil, and that they might feel connected to it and want to also preserve it, and that an advocate and what other else things that we might not be able to think of at the moment would be needed to help preserve that precious land and might arise. And we are so grateful for you and existence and everything else. And this we pray in the name of all that is good, holy, and sacred. Amen. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Very nice. Okay, and Ed, who's on Zoom?
No one's on first. We have a few on second. From Ann Corvin in the Northern Lands. Wow. Popular. We've never had a cheering section. Thank you for your wonderful, inspiring talk, Connie. What a beautiful reminder that we are one with everyone and everything. From Patty and Joyce out on the coast. Thank you for the eloquent and sensitive talk. It is so inspiring. Hope you carry the message out into the world. Sky. Okay, time to go for me. I love you, Mama Boon. And from Nasrin, I don't know that I pronounced that right. Thank you, Connie. Much wisdom. And then back to Anne. Beautiful prayer, Ruth.
Yeah.
We're caught up.
Thank you so very much, Ed. And I want to do something for Ed. Let's just give him a round of applause.
Yay!
Thank you so much for being here. And thank you to Tommy, and thank you to John for taking care of the door. We do appreciate that.
Yay.
Thank you so
Yay,
much.
And Tim for the lovely song.
Oh, yes. Well, Tim is kind of like he and I kind of go together here. We get up here, we do our thing, and if somebody says thank you, we really appreciate it, and I want to honor all of you for listening to us.
I think we should sing that song more often. I really like that
I'm
song.
going to learn that song and teach it to you, okay?
Yes, I think it would be great.
I mean, it was
to
so
have that.
easy. We could just.
I know, we can make that a part of everything.
Because everybody likes to sing.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's simple. It's simple and it's singable.
Yes, and it's not, we don't have to worry about whether or not it's in public domain because Tim wrote it.
That's right.
It's ours. Okay, thank you.
Well, it's it.
First song in the hymn book.
Yeah, thank you so very much. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Connie. And you all have a wonderful weekend, okay? Bye now.